Alright, so we all want to create games, we all want to make money from our games, and we all want to eventually get the opportunity to create our dream game. However, how many developers are there in Roblox? I bet you didn't know this, but research out there shows that there are between 3 and 4 million developers. And out of those 3 to 4 million, of course not all of them take development seriously, but you'd obviously know that the vast majority of them do not even make money from their work. And if we apply the Pareto principle here, which is a principle that states that 80% of the output comes from 20% of the input, if you translate that to money, that will mean that 80% of the money generated by these 3 to 4 million developers is only generated by the top 20% of developers. And I feel like I'm being generous here. And of course, this could be considered as bro science, so take it with a grain of salt. But what do I want you to take from this? 2 things mainly. 1, if you want to take game development seriously, then you must strive to be in the top 20% of developers on the platform. And number 2, if you want to get to the top 20%, then you just do what the top 20% are doing. It's a very simple concept, yet it's easier said than done. After examining your comments throughout the whole lifespan of this channel, I've noticed that a lot of people have one problem. They're not consistent with their work and or do not have enough motivation. And that's 2 things that the top 20% of developers surely have. Now, before I actually tell you how to fix both of these problems, like for real, you're about to get some top advice over here. I just want to say before that I'm nowhere near the top 20% of developers myself. Like, I'm not even in the question yet. I'm just someone who's made some progress as a developer and is just sharing things that have helped him. And somehow, people apparently like me, and that's why I have some subscribers. So bro, don't think that you and I are so different. I might just be like 1 or 2 steps ahead of you. If anything, I've gotten humbled a lot of times in my Discord server. So I just wanted to put that out there. Now back to the topic. How do you get more consistent and get more motivation? Step 0 is admitting that you are not consistent and that you have motivation issues and consistency issues. Like, you gotta raise your hand and say, yup, I have this problem. If you don't do that, then you might as well click off this video. And of course, the real goal of solving this is getting yourself to sit down to do development work, right? Because you better bet that these top developers don't have an issue with this. I've had conversations and talked to some top developers from the YouTube space, and I'm telling you right now, they do not play with consistency. They get things done and they get them done as fast as possible. I'm going to give you literally a step-by-step guide on how to your brain so that you can actually sit down and do work. Most of the people who clicked on the video will have clicked off by now, because this is not a highly edited video, and I'm not talking about some top 5 ways to make more Robux on Roblox or some shit.
Daddy, chill.
And I'm telling you, these are the people that will never see a penny from anything they do because they want quick solutions. So pay attention. There are 4 things that influence your discipline mainly, and your ability to work, of course. Most people don't know this, or they severely underestimate it. Those 4 things are willpower, dopamine, habits, and identity. And they need to be solved in that same order. And one thing can lead to another. This might not make a lot of sense just yet, but if you stick around, I promise you will know how to solve your inability to work. Alright, so we start with willpower. Willpower is the energy that we all have inside of us that gives us the power to do actions that go against our own desires. And we all have different amounts of this energy inside of us. However, we can all infinitely improve on the amount of it that we have by just using it. Willpower is just like a muscle. The more you use it, the better it gets. And I'm talking from first-hand experience here. As an athlete, I've had to force myself countless amounts of time to wake up early. I'm talking about 5 a.m. to go and do some training. Like, I wake up, shower, and go train. Literally, like, that will be my routine several times a week throughout my childhood. And you want to know what's interesting? When I first started doing this, I was like, what? Probably like 13 to 14 years old. And you better bet that I couldn't get up at that time. So it's not like I was born with the willpower to wake up early and train. I had to try countless times to get up and train before I could actually do it consistently. The first couple of times, it was hell, I won't lie. However, after the 20th time, the 30th time, it felt more natural, meaning it finally became a habit. And if you maintain a habit for long enough, eventually it even gets ingrained into your identity. And by this point, if you don't do whatever you were doing before, you will literally feel weird. So step 1 will be the hardest, and step 1 will be to literally just use all the willpower you have inside of you to sit down and do work as many times as you possibly can. And I know it sounds kind of superficial, and I know that sometimes you will kind of be fighting demons in yourself, but you need to tell that little voice telling you to slack off, to shut the f wake up and literally just force yourself to sit down and open Roblox Studio. And if you're able to do that, then you're already making progress. Literally, just make it a goal to sit down every day or every other day and just open Roblox Studio. Don't set the goal to sit down and make this game. Just literally just make it your goal to sit down every day or every other day and just open Roblox Studio, nothing more. After you open it, if you don't want to do anything, close it and you're done. Literally, that will be the goal. And you might be like, Ludius, what the hell are you talking about, man? But listen, right now you might actually be at level 0 in terms of consistency and willpower. So if I tell you to sit down right now, write down a game idea and start working on it for 8 hours straight, you probably won't do it. Actually, you won't do it. Actually, that might have sounded impossible depending on how much willpower you have. So by setting the bar low, yes, you're gonna make less progress, but you'll make it pretty much impossible for yourself to fail. Literally, your goal will be to just sit down and open Roblox Studio every other day or every day, nothing more. Now, when you do this, you might actually end up saying, well, I'm already here, so might as well do some work, right? But that was not the main goal. It's good that you did that, don't get me wrong, awesome. If you did that, that's awesome, even better. But what I want you to take away from this is that you will start noticing that little by little, it starts getting easier and easier to just sit down and do the work. Eventually, you sit down every day or every other day and you pull a 2-hour session of development. Then it becomes a 3-hour session, and then you do it more times a week. And after a couple weeks, maybe by the time 1 or 2 months have passed, you're every day doing a 1 hour, 2 hour, 3 hour, 4 hour game development session. And then when you keep improving this habit, since you've already built the momentum for this, it will be a lot easier for you to maintain, of course. And before you know it, you're working every day 3 to 4 hours a day, and it just keeps getting better from there. But you need to start very low and work your way up. Your willpower will get better, and as you get better control of yourself and start showing up, a habit is built, and now that the ball is rolling, with enough time it gets ingrained into your identity, which means that now you will feel weird. Literally, you will feel weird if you don't sit down and do the work. And this is something that happened to me with game development and also with YouTube. If I think I'll miss an upload, or that day I just don't sit down and do any game development at all, I feel a little bit weird about it. So far, we've covered willpower, habits, and identity, right? I'll say it one last time. You use willpower to create a habit, and once the habit is formed, you keep using willpower to maintain the habit, which will be a lot easier at that point. And eventually it gets ingrained into your identity, and that's the best of the cases. And now I need to talk about dopamine. If you don't know what dopamine is, essentially dopamine is a chemical that your brain releases that pretty much makes you feel satisfaction. It makes you feel pleasure, and the vast majority of us have a problem with this, especially like Gen Z. We have a very big problem with this. I'll be the first one to admit that I have problems with dopamine. Essentially, dopamine is released when you achieve a goal or you're doing any pleasurable activity. Like for example, if you're into sports, then you'd get dopamine when you do sports, and when dopamine is released, it makes your brain want to repeat the activity it got the dopamine from, because it fulfills you, right? It's fun. However, most of us kids get someone addicted to video games, and you want to know what happens. Dopamine is released when you play video games, causing you to want to keep playing more and more and more, and it makes you lose time. But more importantly, it takes away your motivation, and you might be, what the hell does that mean? Depending on the amount of dopamine that your brain releases on the activities you do will also depend the amount of dopamine needed for you to feel satisfied with anything. And studies have shown that the dopamine released when you play video games is almost the same as freaking drugs, bro. Ain't this insane? Your brain, when you're playing video games, can have similar effects in terms of dopamine to you doing drugs. And this is not surprising, taking into account that you can literally have a second life in some games, like MMORPGs, for example, like Deep Woken. So now, since you've trained your brain to only feel satisfaction with the amount of dopamine that video games give you, which is huge, all other activities in life feel less pleasurable. They feel less satisfying, and therefore you're less likely to pursue them because you unconsciously think that you don't need it. Essentially, your brain thinks that the life satisfaction that you get from activities like building a business or creating a game or exercising are lower or less important than that of playing video games, which is something that do not yield you a single benefit when you're trying to create something you can be proud of. If you've stuck until this point of the video, let me know in the comments, because I'd actually be surprised if anyone stuck till the end of this video for this very reason. Their dopamine receptors are fried. Think about it. Some people, like the people that need this video the most, the people that know they need to solve this, won't watch it. I'm telling them, watch this video and you won't struggle again with consistency, and they go like, nah, I'm good. How up is that, bro? Seriously, think about it. Imagine you're sick, like you have a disease, like a terminal disease, and I just tell you, yo, at the end of that hallway, there's a pill that will automatically cure you, but you gotta run until the end of that hallway. And then this person that is terminally ill, like imagine this person is going to die in like 3 months if they don't get this pill. They say like, nah, I'm good. It's too far. Like, bro, how is that? And they stay like this for their whole life. This is most people when it comes to discipline, bro. Most people will say at the end of the hallway, well, why can't you go and get it for me? Like, bro, this is most people. I hope you do not end up like this. I really hope you don't. Seriously, I feel bad for those people, because for the majority of the people I know, and this might be the case for you as well, their brains are literally working against them, and that's why ultimately you can't get done, because you're fighting yourself and making it harder for yourself with the current habits you have. The way I personally stopped being addicted to video games 2 years ago was just by replacing the habit with another one. Instead of gaming, I now focus more on game development, and when I'm not doing game development, I'm either training or at school. And this is all I have for you in terms of how to sit down and do work. If you made it till this point, really let me know in the comments, because I actually want to know if people find this type of videos which are not really related to game development interesting. I mean, they do help with everything in life, including game development, I guess, but you know what I mean. This said, keep leveling up, bro. Be safe, and I'll see you when I see you. Peace.